Hello, I'm Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week we are going to drink and drink and drink. We're talking about beer. Gary, why don't you introduce our guest?
So, in other words, it's situation normal for you. Is that right, Kathy? Well, yeah, this week we've got a very special guest,
Yeah,
Dr. Mike Sheehan. We want to find out what he's got a doctorate in.
yes.
I'm gonna guess Pilsner, but we'll see. Uh, the coolest product I've heard about. We've got a beer from Stevens Point, Wisconsin, where Mike Sheehan's brewery is, D1 Brewing. It's in honor of Steve Stricker, and it's called Strick-9, which is just the coolest name. And it's going to be sold. It's sold this week. The U.S. Senior Open's coming to Stevens Point this week, and you're here at the right place at the right time. I hope with the right beer. Mike, tell us about what on earth. What was the first step in Mike
Yeah,
and Steve Stricker having a beer named after him?
sure. Yeah. No, yeah, we're extremely excited about the U.S. Senior Open coming to town. Our brewery is only about a half a mile or so from the actual golf course. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we got hotels lining the roads on either side of us. We're hoping for a big week here. Um, it kind of started, we opened in February of 2020, about 6 weeks before COVID. So you can imagine the first
Oh, gosh.
year or two were a bit tough for us. How it kind of happened was in the summer of 2021, we actually reached out to a different athlete, Cole Caulfield, a hockey star who played his high school hockey in Stevens Point, then at UW-Madison with the Montreal Canadiens. They were in a Stanley Cup run at the time. And my wife is friends of a friend of his mom, reached out to them. Anyway, long story short, we'll get on to golf here in a second. But so we have a beer with Cole Caulfield too, with some of the proceeds going to his local charity. So then fast forward to the fall of 2021. We knew that the U.S. Senior Open was coming, so I wanted to try to couple with a golfer. Steve Stricker, obviously from Wisconsin, was a good choice. And then after the great showing at the Ryder Cup with him being captain, that kind of solidified it. So I just took a chance. I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to reach out to his agent, Mario.
Oh,
Sent him an email. He responded. Now that's, as you know, that's right when Steve got real sick. And so we kind of put things on hold for about a year, actually.
yeah.
And then I reached out to him again in the fall of 2022, and that's when things really started going.
Yeah, they reached out to us. District 1 is the brewery, and they reached out to us last year, so it took a few months to kind of come up with something. They gave me 3 choices kind of thing after I told them what I like, and so we picked one out, and we had a name. There's some people that call me Strick-9, so it kind of, play on words, right, Jocko? I mean, that Strick-9 will kill you, but it's alcohol, so it tastes good. It's kind of fun. Like you said, all the proceeds are going to our foundation.
Can you imagine how much Strick-9 beer you would have sold at Whistling Straits during the Ryder Cup?
Right.
You'd had it then. Oh my gosh!
Right.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit too late, but hopefully we'll sell every bit as much here, and then use this as a platform to expand further beyond that. This is our second batch. We did a small batch that sold out, and then this is our first big batch. By big batch, it's about 600 gallons at a time. But
How
anyway,
much is that in
How many is that in
six
cans?
pack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, well, let's see. I have to do the math. 600.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. Thousands of cans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
it should keep Wisconsin drinking for at least a weekend.
Oh yeah, no, that
maybe,
sounds like one. That sounds like one frat at the UW on a
maybe
Saturday
a couple
night.
of hours, right? Yeah. So
I can say that because I'm a UW grad.
yes, I did some of my training at UW. Yeah.
So you started during the pandemic. Didn't
Yeah.
people drink more then? Maybe that wasn't such a bad time.
Yeah, they couldn't come into the place though. I mean, we had to
Oh,
sell
that's true.
to-go beer, so it was kind of limited there. Yeah, but when I talked with Mario, then he was interested, and he actually came up with the name Strick-9. Mario did, his Steve's agent, and I bet most people call Stricker Strick, I guess, but some people call him Strick-9.
Yes, that clip that you sent me from the American Family said that he had a lot of friends that used to call him that years ago. And I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that a guy as nice as Stricker would have a nickname that was a poison. So I thought that was
Well,
unbelievable.
that's sports humor. The bald guy is always nicknamed Curly, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So we got
were
off-
there any other names even considered?
No, not really. I didn't really have a name at the time, and I'm glad that Mario had something good. And then when he and I got off the phone, I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to look up the chemical formula of Strick-9, and you probably saw it on the thing there, you know. So where are we? Made it into a golf hole. You can see there with part of it as the green
Okay.
and the water hazard and all that. Stuck a flag in it, and there you go.
Well, here's some names I came up with in case this
Uh-oh.
sells out. Well, I was thinking more of naming it after people in his family. So you got his daughter Bobby. I was thinking Bobby's Brewski.
There you go.
Izzy foaming, and in honor of Steve's emotional state after victory, ye Old Town Crier.
Oh, those are good options. I think we'll put those
Those are
on the
good.
list.
Yeah.
Those are really good. I used to always think he should have Kleenex as a sponsor, because every time something good happened to him, he just dissolved in tears. He's just such a nice man.
I think that's the thing, is that he's a regular guy, and I think that's the beauty of it. You know, when we reached out to him and Mario, they were willing to kind of answer, you know, a cold email out of the blue. It was kind of nice. Yeah.
Well, tell us about your doctorate and your beer making. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I'm an endocrinologist. So
Okay.
I did my medical school at Mayo Clinic. I did my internal medicine residency at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and then back to Mayo Clinic for endocrinology fellowship. And we've been in the Wisconsin area for 23 years. I've worked at Marshfield Clinic as an endocrinologist. So I care for patients with diabetes, primarily, also thyroid conditions, osteoporosis, other hormonal problems.
Yeah, I think you've got a patient ready to sign up here.
So I tell people this is my midlife crisis project. You know, I'm 55 now. We actually built the place out ourselves. So there are 5 or 6 of us that actually completely renovated the space over the course of 18 months. So I got my feet wet in terms of putting up drywall and grinding floors and all that kind of stuff in my spare time, right? And then so it was a long process, and then we, like I say, opened up. I got into it, you know, one of my medical assistants' husbands works with one of the other owners, and she knew that I was into beer, and we would kind of trade craft beers when we would visit different places, she and I. So she got me hooked up with the other group, and then that's how it happened, for me at least.
So as a craft brewer, do you just make a couple, you know, do you keep coming up with new brands on a regular basis, or tell us? I don't know that business.
Yeah, so it's a fairly small brewery. I mean, we do have a 10-barrel system, which is a 300-gallon. We brew 300 gallons at a time. And we have 20-barrel fermenters, which is about 600 gallons. So you brew twice to fill up the fermenter, and you know, we're small. I mean, we brewed 800 barrels. You know, the big boys, like let's say even Point Brewery in Wisconsin here does about 230,000 barrels, or 100, maybe 200,000 barrels a year. You know, the Budweisers do millions of barrels a year. So, you know, we've just not too long ago brewed our 110th unique beer. And so over the course of a few years, we have a lot of different recipes that we'll come out with. So right now we probably have at least 20 of our own beers on tap, in addition to the Strick-9. And we also came out with 2 more in honor of the tournament here. We got a Looper, which is named after that scene in Caddyshack where what's his name's holding the fork, or the pitchfork up to the guy's neck, Gunga Galunga.
Bill Murray,
and then we got Mulligan. Mulligan doesn't have a can, but it's going to be on tap only. That's an IPA.
How do you come up with a recipe? I know that beers can taste stronger. Is it with more hops? Is that right?
Yeah. So the flavor is probably, the strong flavor is based on the hops. The alcohol content is more based on how much grain or malt or other adjuvants of grain that you might use in it, because that's what the yeast will use to ferment and make the alcohol.
And
well,
so
are these beers you make, are they one-time things where you do a couple batches and move on, or do you make a couple batches, send them out, and if they get popular, you do them again, or how's that work?
Yeah, there's certain flagship beers they call them in the industry. So we you have ones that you always have on tap because somebody always wants an IPA. You always want a stout, which is one of the darker beers. You always want to have, say, a lager or two, which is the lighter beers, kind of like the Strick-9, looks like a Budweiser kind of a thing. So we probably have at least 10 flagships, including a seltzer, because a lot of people like seltzers these days. And then seasonally, we'll come out with something too. So every winter, we come out with one called 8 Ender, kind of a curling kind of a thing. That's a big thing around here too, curling. And so that's a Scotch ale. It's more of a winter beer. You sit by the warm fire and have a little. You don't want to drink more than one of those because it's about 9% ABV. So. So there's different things like that. We got some that are aging in barrels for 6 months. So we got a Imperial Stout that we age in whiskey barrels. We're going to crack that out pretty soon here. So there's a lot of different things. Always something different going on, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. How did Steve figure out what kind of beer he wanted you to make for him?
So he said he wanted something easy to drink, after a round of golf. Summer beer, obviously, for the golf season. So what we did is we actually sent him 3 different options. We had 3 different beers, kind of a blind taste test. I put a label over the label and just labeled A, B, and C. And we sent all 3 of those to Steve and to Mario. They both picked choice A, which turns out to be the one that we use then. It's a Pilsner. It's got some corn in it that gives it a little bit more unique craft flavor than you would get from, say, something just like a Budweiser or something like that.
And what do you use for grain in a beer? I'm completely, other than using corn, I have no idea.
Yeah, so it's typically barley malt, barley flakes. This one has 80% barley malt and flakes, and then 20% corn. Okay.
And where do you buy the product? I mean, you don't go out into the South 40 and take corn off the cob out there. And are there people that supply that to you?
Correct. Yeah, I don't remember exactly who we use. Somebody else kind of orders that stuff up, but there is a supplier that has not only the grains. You typically get the grain from a certain supplier, and then you get the hops from a different supplier. And so, we have a bunch of the hops you keep in the cooler for months on end. So we got thousands of dollars worth of hops in there just waiting to be used. And then the grain kind of, you go through it quicker because we brewed a batch of our Oktoberfest just yesterday. And what did we use? Probably 20, 50 pound bags of grain for a 300 barrel batch. And then, the yeast is only in little bricks. It's kind of a solid thing, but about 4 bricks of yeast in there. And then, so it's a lot more grain, obviously, than the other.
Well, Steve is such a big name in golf and in Wisconsin. I don't see how you're going to be able to make enough Strick-9 beer to keep up with the demand.
Me either.
we were brewing yesterday, and we're in there, and we're open, obviously. And some guy comes up and says, "Hey, you know what? I own the Piggly Wiggly down near Edgerton, where Steve's hometown is." And he said, I think he said that Steve's mom came in and said, "Hey, when are you going to have the beer?" And so he was looking for it in the distributors that he uses and couldn't find it. So he happened to be up north, coming back home through Stevens Point on his way back down south, and just stopped by and said, "Hey, can I set up an account? I want to buy 10 cases right now." And so we kind of scrambled and got 10 cases out the door just yesterday, completely unexpected.
Well, I laughed because on the TV spot, the guy mentioned, well, Steve, Strick-9 beer is normally available at Harley's Bait and Liquor Store at the corner of Cottage Grove Road in Monona.
Yeah, right.
Harley's Bait, but yeah, you gotta make a lot more of this stuff because
you gotta think bigger.
Yeah, I mean, do you even have enough for Monty at the Senior Open?
Or Jerry Kelly, I hear, is a beer drinker too.
Yeah, you gotta get back to work on that.
You need to send a couple of cases to the media center down there.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, so for the AmFam, just a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, where Steve won, obviously, we had 10 cases there behind the scenes. We weren't able to have it for the patrons yet this year. Hopefully next year. But we did have it behind the scenes so they could celebrate with it afterwards. So for the Senior Open here, each of the golfers and each of the caddies is getting a care package from the Portage County Visitors Association will contain a can of the Strick-9 and also a can of the other one, Looper.
Okay.
So they're each going to have some of that too, behind the scenes, so to speak.
So each
Do you
caddy
keep
is
up-
going to get 2 cans of beer. You are now a caddy legend.
Yeah, this is good. The more we can get the word out, the more people start to talk about it and tweet about it and retweet and all that. Hopefully that really, and like you say, I would agree, Kathy, we really need to be able to ramp it up here. Probably we're going to brew another batch right away here because we hope to sell out here. And we're talking with the distributor now, probably this week or maybe next week. This week's a little bit busy for us, so by probably next week we'll talk to the distributor, and that will hopefully, we might have to actually contract brew it out. Then the hope would be is it gets big enough that we can't brew enough in our place to keep up with the demand. We'd hope to kind of more widespread distribution through golf courses and various taverns throughout Wisconsin.
I think people are going to want the cans as souvenirs, if nothing else.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Do you keep your medical practice going at the
Yes.
same time? Oh,
Yeah.
you're really busy.
Yeah. It was. It's probably about 60 hours a week for medical practice, and then when we were building the place out, it was another 20 hours a week on the weekends. It was a long year and a half, but yeah, I still have a full-time practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be a good look to come in to see your patient with a can of Strick-9 and say, "Hey, so what's the problem this week here? Tell me about it." Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
So look, I'm in Pittsburgh, Kathy's in Florida.
Yeah.
Where can the average person in America go to get Strick-9 beer? Do they have to come to the brewery? Do they have to come to Wisconsin? What can they do?
It's pretty limited for right now. We have it at the tap room, certainly. We have it at the Harley's Liquor in Madison. We have it at that
In bait shop.
And bait shop, yes. You can. When I deliver there, they got the bait in the back, with the coolers and the water and the minnows and all that. Yeah. Then at Piggly Wiggly down by Steve's hometown. It is at TPC Wisconsin. Now, obviously, you got to be a member there, but that's Steve's course that he designed. His first design or redesign down in Madison. So we have it on tap, and it'll be in the beer cart there that drives around. It's probably just going to be a Wisconsin thing. I mean, obviously Steve spends some of his time in Florida, so it's hard, from a small brewery standpoint to branch out too much just because you really have to have somebody who approaches us and says, hey, you know what, we're really interested in doing this, and here's how we can help you get it to someplace else. The craft beer industry is really tough. I mean, now there's over 10,000, 11,000 craft breweries. You go to the liquor store or the grocery store, you got dozens, if not 100 different options there. So it's really tough to get a foothold.
Well, I know my brother is big into craft beer. He lives in central Illinois, and he and his wife go doing different things on the weekend, and there are a couple of places that he likes to go and sample their craft beverages. And so I think that there are a ton of people who probably do the same thing all across the country.
You've got to order him up to Edgerton to the Piggly Wiggly and grab some for you.
Oh,
right.
Well, are you allowed to send beer out of state? I mean, there are certain states where you can and can't, because I was trying to send my daughter some wine, and because she lives in Texas and I live in Florida, something about the state laws, and so I ended up giving her a gift certificate for it. But that just makes me think that there are probably some hurdles you can't get over because of the state liquor laws.
Correct. Yeah, and to send it from the brewery itself, there's some special stuff that you have to paperwork and other things that you have to go through, I believe.
Okay.
A private citizen can send things to another private citizen with certain limitations, like you mentioned, but to send it actually from a brewery to people, you have to go through a different process as well.
Okay. If I were you, I'd be setting up that
huge
process.
questions here. Like, what would a 6-pack of Strick-9 beer go for, approximately?
Yeah, so we sell it in 4-packs because they're 16-ounce cans. So that's
they're 16-ounce cans. Well, then I need twice as many.
Right. Yeah, so for a 16, let's see, we're selling it for $13. for a 4-pack of 16-ounce cans. So it's a craft beer. It's going to be more expensive than your Busch Light or your Budweiser, things like that. But again, part of it goes to Steve's foundation. We any tap beer of Strick-9 that we sell in the tap room, 10% goes to Steve's foundation. Any merchandise, those stickers that I showed you, we got the glassware. It's got the Strick-9 on it there.
Wow.
10% of that, and then 5% of any packaged beer, whether it be kegs or cans, that costs us a bit more up front, so we go 5% on that. So,
I was going to ask you about merchandise. Do you have clothes? Do you have hats? Do you have staff golf bags? You got to get on this.
I know. Well, yeah. So, like I say, this is our first batch. We're really getting just started here, but I have that in my mind here. That's my vision. We'll see if anybody else wants to follow that vision.
Anybody goes around with you can just pass out the T-shirts for free. It's advertising. They're walking around with a Strick-9 beer logo on their shirt. People are going to go, "Hey, what's that?"
Yeah,
and it's about beer, so I want some.
Where can I get some? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I hope, further merchandise options, whether it be maybe not this year. We're still trying to get the inroads with the distributor and see if and how we might be able to increase production and hopefully develop demand for it coming into next golf season. Maybe that would be an option that I'd like to pursue, is some other merchandise like T-shirts and hats.
If people want to reach,
go ahead.
If people want to reach out to you, how do they get hold of you, or how do they get to, so they can find out where things are available? Because
we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, kind of standard things. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay,
we're
and that's
pretty good about answering.
District 1.
Yes, District 1 Brewing.
Okay.
I got one more beer name for you for Steve Stricker, given how he loves to go out with a bow and arrow in deer season. The Beer Hunter.
I like that.
That's probably taken.
I think that's my favorite one so far. So, yeah.
So, okay, I'm reading that as he didn't like the first three, but that's well, right now we're doing our shameless promo. Subscribe. It's free. Nothing will happen. You won't get emails. You'll just get the next show alert and click on like, because our goal is to build viewership up to the point where we actually get a check from YouTube for 17 cents. That's our goal. We're aiming high. We're not like Mike Sheehan and D1 Brewing. They're just going to make some camp beer and, give it away. We're aiming bigger, 17 cents. I mean,
go big or go home.
Good. I mean, forget my joke names. Strick-9 is so good.
Unbelievable.
People right away know there's a sense of humor and goodwill behind that.
Right. Yeah.
Unless, of course, they're actually a Strick-9 in which case, business.
That might be a problem for my.
That would be a problem.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much, Mike. We know you have a limited schedule, and you probably have to go see patients for a few hours.
I do. My first patient is in about a half hour.
Okay. We need to let you get out the door. Thank you so much.
Mike Sheehan, Strick-9 Beer, D1 Brewing in Stevens Point, Wisconsin.